Everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Sebastian Echeverry, reporter with the Long Beach Post. I'm joined today by Jay Camerino, who is the Assistant Superintendent of High Schools for LBUSD. Jay, thanks so much for joining us.
Sebastian, thank you. It's an honor to be here and an honor to represent our community as a longstanding member of the community, product of the district. Glad to be here to support all of our community members to be in tune as to what's happening with school opening in a few days.
Right. Actually, school is just, it's this Tuesday coming up, correct?
It is, yes, this Tuesday.
But there is a very huge difference, I'm sure, than the previous school years. We are in the middle of a pandemic. And so I think the first thing I want to open up is how's your day going, or what's your day like preparing for that first day of school and just the challenge that lies ahead, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of people have been putting a lot of work in to ensure that we have an online system or distance learning that's going to be totally different from what we experienced from March until June. Amazing staff, teachers, classified employees, getting our schools ready, getting our technology ready, and really communicating as much as possible to our community, parents and students to get this year ready with distance learning. And right now, it's especially for our high schools, I've had the honor of being out to several of our high schools to support their registration / disbursement of books and materials to ID pictures and taking temperatures of students as they come into the school. So it's been, all hands on deck with, of course, even this week, having our teachers being trained during a week-long training of our new LMS, or learning management system called Canvas, and how our students and teachers and parents will be logging into a virtual classroom and how that's going to work. And just a lot of work behind the scenes from our support from our Office of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development to our teachers, our trainer of trainers, our TOTs at our school sites, training all of our individual teachers. And our teachers, just more than anything else, have been just working so hard and being able to prepare for a school year that none of us could have ever planned for. And with the restrictions being handed to us and things changing through our local health officials, we are always somewhat trying to be very flexible in how we do things, but at the same time, we're so accustomed to being consistent and being in a routine that we're able to support and provide all the resources and materials to our students and parents, that this is definitely going to be a change. Man, I applaud all of our teachers who have been so flexible, and our staff in the trainings, and our everybody from our counselors to administrators, and everything that we've been trying to do to get everything ready for our students to be here with us via distance learning on Tuesday. Just a lot of work has been happening behind the scenes, and I applaud them all. And I'm really, again, honored to be a part of reflecting that work. But more than anything else, just grateful for the fact that they have shown a lot of flexibility, a lot of raw openness, and being able to really just work as a team together and as a collective group to really get our schools ready for next Tuesday.
Right. And so I think I just wanted to open up as well, talking about student life and what specifically for high schools, senior life, and what's that going to look like. I believe seniors in high school, if I recall to my high school days, there was a lot of activities and just a lot of preparing for the next step. With this giant wrench thrown into the machine, what does that look like when it comes to, I think, opening up with student activities? So I know I'm thinking a bit too ahead. It's barely the first day of school, already thinking like senioritis starts to kick in and everyone's kind of over it. But no prom, no dances. What is that going to be like for the students?
Yeah, right now we're on the ready. We're planning for what could and can't happen at the same time, and what can and can't happen at the same time. So right now we have, we're on pause until October 5th. So right now we're in a distance learning model where no students are on campus. Obviously right now through registration, students are there, students are there, and they are picking up their materials and textbooks and taking their ID pictures. We're looking for sure to have their senior pictures done, senior portraits, which is a big deal for our seniors too. But all the events that we are having right now or supposed to have are on hold. We do have, as we have mentioned in late May and early June, our athletics and other extracurricular activities such as marching band, cheer, have all been pushed forward to having only 2 seasons of athletics. We typically have 3, so we've moved it to 2 seasons of athletics starting in late December. for the fall sports, such as football, girls volleyball, cross country. So those sports are now going to be moving towards, the late December start, again, if we're allowed to. This is all contingent upon where we are as a community, as a county, and obviously as the health officials from Long Beach, Dr. Davis, guides us through the what's allowable at our schools. So really, we're planning for things to happen, but they're on hold, and so we're adjusting to many of those events. Obviously, just again, preparation is key, but at the same time, being flexible is really a big part of what we've been doing since March 13th, when we closed schools in last spring.
Right. And talking about that challenge, understanding this new, so it's from September 1st, I think some of the people watching may want to know more about what does that new system look like? So from September 1st to October 5th, virtually everything is online, correct?
Everything, yes, K through 12, yes.
It's being projected that if by October 5th, if the county is taken off the watch list and we meet certain benchmark certain goals there, that we can then perhaps proceed with some sort of hybrid type school. How's that going to be handled? There was a recent, LBUSD was asking parents actually for their input, and most parents of high school students, about 67%, report that they would like to see some sort of hybrid online course being implemented. So how will that look like if and when that comes in?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. And what we've been seeing is, as we ask our parents through these surveys how they feel and how students feel about returning back to school, I think it really mirrors what's going on with the county and what's going on with COVID cases, right? I mean, if there's a high, a percentage of folks having positive tests on COVID, then you see a lot of kind of retreating of wanting to go back to a school, whether it's in a hybrid model or not. As things get safer and better as far as the data is out there, then you start to see more of a connection towards having some kind of a hybrid model or allowing students to come back to school. So in any case, whatever happens for, let's say, after October 5th, or whenever we're allowed to come back in a hybrid way, basically it's really going to be left up to the pathways. So all of our schools have pathways within our high schools, and they are specifically, tailored towards student choices, what parents and students have chosen. And any other mix of that really kind of takes away from the whole point of our linked learning pathways that we have at our schools. So our pathways are going to be able to work with their students, keeping their same teachers, keeping their same classmates, keeping the same classes. And what we did in late April, early May is all of our high school principals and our counselors were told to put all of our students into A and B categories, and not necessarily alpha, but more making sure that you can split the school in half, split all of our schools, all of our students in every pathway in every high school into two halves, so that we have a ethnic, gender kind of balance in both A and B models. And basically what it means in a hybrid model is that A students would come, say, on Monday, and B students would be learning from home. And then on Tuesday, the B students would come onto campus and the A students would be learning from home. That's pretty much kind of a generic hybrid model of how things would work. So basically, for the most part, students would be going to school half the time or every other day, or in a high school model too, depending on the block schedule, would go odd and even, say Monday, Tuesday, and then odd and even the next Wednesday, Thursday from home. So A's would be coming Monday, Tuesday, B's would be at home. Then Wednesday, Thursday, the B students would be there and the A students would stay home. So it's kind of a, on and off, evenly distributed way of students being on campus and off campus and learning. That's the hybrid model for the most part. And especially for high school, it's in that block schedule model. For the online learning, that we're going to have is, at the time of when this all was happening during COVID, the only online option that we had at the high school level is really Apex. And Apex has typically been used as a kind of a self-paced, on your own, working with the teacher who's guiding the work that you're doing. You turn things in virtually. Right now with the online model, depending upon the number of students that we have that are requesting to be online and what the pathway can offer, we want students that are going to be online only to really not miss out on their pathway connections, their pathway course of study, and all the other things that pertains to that pathway, depending upon what teachers are willing to teach as far as what they want to do online and what they want to do in a hybrid model. Our students should be able to stay within their pathways. And more than anything, Sebastian, what we want to do is we want students to feel safe, and we want students not to miss out on anything because they've chosen one way or the other. We don't want students to miss out on, say, extracurricular, whether they're in band and orchestra or a sport because they went hybrid, or miss out because they're going all online. If you would have asked me in April or May, what if a parent wants to do online but still wants their kid to play football? Right? To me, it would make much sense to say you're going online because you don't want to risk bringing COVID home or expose your child to COVID, but yet you want to play football. But now, and looking at how things are going, and people just really confused. We don't know the right choice, right? We want our kids to come back. Our kids want to come back, but we also want to be safe. So the option and the way people feel every day kind of just fluctuates and changes. So we definitely want to say whatever option our students and our parents choose for their child, we don't want them to miss on anything. So if it means that they want to go online, but yet they still want to play football or volleyball or wrestle, then that's still going to be something that when we are able to bring students back, we can bring them back. And again, no one is penalized for the choice that they make, especially when you realize that we're in a pandemic. So we want to make sure we are leaving things open as much as possible and as flexible as possible, that we can still offer our students. And obviously too, making sure that our teachers feel that flexibility of what they feel they want to be able to do when our students are able to come back.
Right, and I think it's something important that I was going to bring up, and I think you actually touched upon it already, is that there may be some families that are, we know from data throughout the city, some families are multi-generational homes, a lot of individuals there that may suffer from the instances that we know that coronavirus has an impact, impacts them more. For example, somebody who elderly, somebody with a pre-existing condition, immunocompromised. So I think sometimes families are worried about sending someone to a school with a lot more people around them, and then coming home and bringing it. So as you're saying, nobody will be penalized for choosing to continue to stay on course with an online protocol or teaching system if they choose.
Correct. Yes, definitely. We again, it just sounds so far-fetched, right? But anything can happen, and we want to make sure, depending again upon the options that every school has and what our pathways offer. There's some elective classes that really can't be done online. How do you do band and orchestra? How do you practice and stay in tune through Zoom? That's virtually pretty impossible. We've got some amazing computer equipment through Project Lead the Way that are really high-tech computers that our students don't have at home, and they're at our schools. We have large machinery that we do when we do robotics, or we build things like a CAMS at a Jordan, and those are things that students can't do from home when they have to manipulate these large machines and do some of the work that they do within their pathway work.
Right. And this is a live chat, right? So I just wanted to remind you that people watching can actually submit questions on whatever platform they're watching it on in the comment section. And we actually do have a first question that came in here. I'm just gonna pull it up. So what is being planned to best ensure that LBUSD students don't fall behind students in the rest of the nation? We understand that there has been a dip in the amount of education you can receive because learning away from a classroom environment does have that impact. So what is LBUSD doing to make sure it continues to meet the goals nationwide for students?
That's a great question. So again, it goes back to a lot of the work that's happening behind the scenes through our curriculum office of ensuring that we're training our teachers, obviously, and giving them really succinct and efficient courses of study, programs to follow. What we've done too on the back end of it is that we had a lot of money allocated from our CARES fund to do summer school with the students, and that was offered K through 12 to ensure that our students didn't fall further behind after that, March 13th to June closure. So we've done a lot of work behind the scenes to really support our students through summer school, through what we called SEAL, the SEAL program for our K through 8 students, but having traditional and other bridge type supporting summer school courses for our students. We also pushed out a lot of communication and work through Long Beach City College as having students do dual enrollment and take summer courses through City College. Those classes filled up really quickly. So we know that a lot of our high school students took advantage of Long Beach City College courses in the summer, and also having some dual enrollment done this year in the fall also. So that's a great question. And we've deployed a lot of and reorganized a lot of our teachers on special assignment, which are called our TOSAs, that are going to be serving as intervention teams together to collaborate and coordinate efforts to our students that have the most need, so we can give them the supports that they need also. So there's a lot of work happening, again, in conjunction with our curriculum offices and our level offices, which is our elementary, middle and K-8 schools office and high school office, to coordinate these specialists to ensure that our students that are with the most needs are getting differentiated and specialized support. We're looking at having tutors, student tutors also work. And we've been meeting with our high school teams and administrators to find ways that we're going to coordinate some of our students that are doing really well, juniors and seniors, that can help, and we can help pay them to be tutors and be support systems for our students that need support in other classes, whether it's English, math, science, history, but using student tutors themselves that have been very effective in a lot of our schools and helping our students kind of move forward in their learning. And that way we are using not just staff as teaching staff, but also students themselves that have been trained and do a really phenomenal job of supporting students and helping them, whether it's individual or small group instruction, and giving that support, whether it's homework help or just in preparation for consistent support with students.
And staying on the topic of students and seniors, actually going back to that, with the lack of athletics and maybe some other extracurricular activities, how does that impact college scholarships or transcripts? Has that conversation come up, and what is being done to make sure that those that stays on course, or what's the new method to handle that with the way that the school system is trying to adjust?
Yeah, I just finished speaking to one of our college and career specialists, Sylvia Womack at Long Beach Poly, as I've known her for many years, and many of our counselors too that I've touched base with, is most of our scholarships that have been out there for our students to apply for are still there. So one thing that I will make sure that our parents and our students follow up with after this chat is that they connect with, at our large comprehensive high schools, our college and career specialist centers. They are available if you look on their websites at at your respective school. So if you're at Wilson, you want to look on your Wilson webpage. All the information for the college and career specialists is always updated. So they grab that information. If you're at one of our smaller high schools, then you are always advised to seek the guidance from your high school counselor. So we are right now, looking at ensuring that we communicate even more so for our students to look and apply for scholarships. And that's all still available for our students. One thing that was really, something else that was brought to my attention this morning was that we also have different scholarships for students that say are middle income, students that sometimes don't qualify for some of the scholarships. Once they get accepted to the universities, you can apply through that school through merit scholarships and also freshman scholarships that are there. And I think that's one of the big things that our community doesn't know about. So once you're accepted to a university and you commit to going to that school, that scholarship search shouldn't stop there. It should continue with that particular school that you've applied to. So sometimes our students miss out on some of those. So really being keyed into not only going into connecting with our college and career specialists at our high schools here in Long Beach at our comprehensive high schools, but also having them ensure that they show you the way of connecting to the university scholarship funds that they have there and really taking advantage of those also. But as again, it's going to be obviously with sports being kind of shifted a little bit, and depending on what schools are doing what, it's just going to be most of the offers that are out there that have been out there traditionally are going to be there traditionally and still out there now. But definitely it's going to put us in kind of a different situation for sure, knowing that some of our seasons may look different, and how our teams, when you typically think of applying for universities in December, now you're having your sports happen after the fact. It's going to be, and then we had some of our spring sports obviously canceled, like baseball. How does that baseball scholarship now look when a student didn't have their junior year last year of a baseball season, but they may have a phenomenal a senior baseball year? So it's just going to be how you work with those universities and how those scouts are out there looking at our students too.
Right. And we received another question here from the audience, and I just wanted to make sure to squeeze that in there. What percentage of students have not been accounted for or are still in need of things such as internet hotspots, technology support, with school starting on Tuesday next week? What's the district doing to ensure that almost everyone's ready for school next week?
Yeah, it's a great question, because the challenge has always been those phone calls and emails that we get that are sometimes, that's the school calling and we ignore them, right? Those are the challenges of being able to get a hold of all of our parents who haven't finished everything they need to do to ensure that we're able to give them their classes, give them what they need, keep them up to date as to what's going on, and selecting what choice they're going to have, whether it's going to be a hybrid or online model. The percentages are changing every day. We have a lot of phone calls being made by the schools, individual schools themselves, and we are getting requests for hotspots and Chromebooks still from various levels. But initially it was the students and families that didn't have internet at home that were getting the hotspots when we closed on March 13th. But as we have seen through the progression of March until today, is that some of it unfortunately has been, just lack of employment from some of our families. So families that did have internet and did have a means to connect to the school in June may not have connection to the school now. So we're still getting those requests for hotspots and Chromebooks, and not as much obviously as we had in March, but we do have them. And we've also had some requests for multiple devices at some of our families that have multiple children at home. So yeah, we are definitely sending out constant communication to our families and parents to connect. Our schools are doing a great job of calling and connecting with parents. And so we know that next week's going to be just an enormous amount of communication to our families and homes once the first day, second day of school starts and the students haven't checked in. For our high schools, it's been, we can narrow it down which students aren't connecting with us because through registration, if they haven't come to pick up their books, that's really a great starting point. Sometimes when we reach out for them to complete surveys or other things, they don't come, but they know when they have to come get their IDs and come get their books. Most of our students do show up. So for the most part, we've had really great turnout at these registration events at our high school. So there are a handful of students who may be out of town still who are going to be coming back, that we know that happens too. And then we have a small percentage and a small group of students that show up on the first day of school. So we're preparing for that also.
Right. And I wanted to kind of switch topics a bit to more behind the scenes of the classroom. And it's another thing that you do in your position is you ensure that the school is operating as best as it can with all the resources that are available. So I understand that the school is receiving funds through the CARES money that came in from through federal funding. So how is that money being dispersed to make sure that it's being used in the appropriate way? How is that money being spent?
Sure. So we had approximately for Long Beach Unified about $90 million, and we have to spend the majority of it by December. So we've gone through about $60 million of it all in just mainly technology, curriculum that we have to develop for online learning, and our LMS, our learning management system, and the training that goes behind our Canvas. So a lot of it is due to just the technology, the curriculum, and the training that has to happen, and that's been happening for our schools, upgrading our teacher stations with cameras and microphones. And if some computers are a bit older, we've had to replace them. And just the deployment of all that technology really has taken up most of our CARES money to ensure that we're able to provide online platform or online systems for our students to learn. All those Chromebooks that we've given out since March 13th and to now, we've replaced our Chromebooks at our schools. So we know that our students have their own Chromebooks at home, but we've also replaced them at the school site in anticipation of our students when they do come back. If they come back and forget their Chromebook, they still have one at school. So we have a lot of backup mechanisms or backup systems now to ensure that we have enough technology so that no one can say, I don't have a means to get on at home or even at school. So a lot of it has been, again, most of it has been spent on technology.
Right. Because I understand that the school received about a $71.8 million cut, the budget, earlier during this pandemic. And so I was just wondering how that cut impacted the school system, and then how do you just trying to balance that budget, I'm sure, with federal grants that you're receiving and funds of such.
The challenge, Sebastian, the challenge will be definitely after the CARES money, that we've gotten that's helped us is going back into what we would consider post-COVID, or after we try to come back to normal. We will still have that impact of the budget cuts that we were anticipating and planning for that are going to be, pretty harsh. pretty challenging, as Superintendent Steinhauser formerly had prepared us for, and our new superintendent, Dr. Jill Baker, has really gotten work done to know that in anticipation of just a lot of challenges that we're going to have, and knowing that it's going to happen with our declining enrollment, with the cost of having employees, and the cost of all of our just to run our system has all gone up. All those costs have gone up. And those are the things that really have hit us. But again, I think it's because of the system that we've had as a district for a long time, with the work through our business office and working with our school board, really having a carryover monies and having money in our accounts to make sure we have this rainy day fund and being able to survive this budget, because we have a lot of districts that prior to the pandemic were really financially strapped for being able to function as a district, that they would be able to continue to function as a district in subsequent years was going to be a challenge. So we're going to get through this together. And, we do a lot of great planning, and Dr. Baker and the team have done, a lot of just thoughtful consideration on how we allocate our funds and really, support the work that we're going to need to do for our students, and especially our most students that are the most at promise, or we used to call at risk, but are called at promise, to provide them the support that they're going to need.
Right, and this pandemic has impacted a lot of people, a lot of families, and one of the things that the school was providing during the summer was meals for, I believe, almost virtually everyone. I believe there's a new set of rules coming in with the LBUSD food waiver. Only students that are enrolled, only individuals that are enrolled as students. That may come as a challenge for a lot of families that were depending on food for their siblings or the other kids in the household. Is the school system trying to find different ways to meet those needs for those families?
Yeah, Mark Chavez in Nutrition Services has been doing his whole team, from our food service employees at our sites. We've given over 800,000 meals since March 13th to our families and in our community. And they're always trying to find ways to be able to kind of, again, supply food for our most neediest community members. And it's still something that he's working towards. Every time we know that we can definitely feed all of our Long Beach Unified School District students next week, but that doesn't stop or prevent him from looking at other ways to be able to support the community and working with the city of Long Beach to provide meals for all of our families and students. But at this point, we're at that Long Beach Unified School District students are able to pick up their meals at all of our schools starting next week.
Right. Well, Jay, I think that's kind of everything I had here. Is there anything that you want to say, any final thoughts to prepare for the school week starting, next week on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think with all of our district messaging that we've had out there, and I think a great point that Dr. Baker has mentioned is really allowing for all of us to give grace to one another, really just the patience that we've all tried to have when we are considering our students and the return of our staff and teachers, is that, we're trying to do things, and we think that everything we're trying to do is well prepared and well organized. And sometimes there's a couple of snags here and there, just to let everyone know, and our parents and students out there know, that we are doing the best that we can to ensure that when you come back to school on Tuesday, that you are going to have and see that so many people have worked behind the scenes to really make this, in a pandemic, the most normal way of learning and connecting with all of you. That's going to look different from March till June, but so much work has been done behind the scenes to help you. And just again, as things start to not work, whether it's communication that's not working well, or our technology is not working well, or our online platform's not working well, know that it's not because anyone's trying to do anything wrong. We are just trying to be as efficient and as effective as possible. We had trainings this week, and Zoom went down, nationwide, and all of a sudden, started hearing that, oh, here's Long Beach Unified not being able to have the technology to have teacher trainings. And then after everyone realized that it was a Zoom issue, not a Long Beach Unified issue, just know that when something goes wrong or something doesn't, just what can I do to help? What can I do to help make this feel like, okay, something went wrong. I hope someone, can use some support, because as something does happen where we need to put all hands on deck, know that, someone takes that really personal, and they really get their feelings hurt, because everything that we do in our system is very personal. A lot of us are products of the district. A lot of us have children in the system. And we have a lot of people that really care about everything that happens here. And we want to make it as smooth as possible. And no one's trying to make anybody upset. We're just working as much as we can in the system that we have. that, there's going to be glitches here and there. And again, I'm just excited because I think 95% of what we're going to do is going to go phenomenal. It's going to go great. Our students are exceptional. Our teachers are exceptional. Our community is great. They've always supported us. We've had, again, a long-standing relationship, not only just with our community here of making our community better, is that we've had great relationships nationwide. We're a school district that's widely recognized, and we're going to continue to do that. I'm really excited about this school year. More than anything else, I'm just excited to see students, and have had the honor of seeing them as they come for registration, but excited to see them online on Tuesday.
Right. Well, Jay, thank you so much for your time, and for the viewers, thanks so much for joining us. I know we're going to be following along with the school system as it continues, and we'll try and keep more articles and news stories up to date. If you'd like to support the Long Beach Post to continue to do live chats just like this, don't forget to visit lbpost.com/support. And thank you so much for your time watching. And Jay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sebastian. A pleasure.